You guys, we're back with another episode. I told y'all I wasn't going to bend to y'all. I told y'all that. I told y'all I'm going to be consistent. And here we are with the consistency. I'm so proud of me for really just pushing through with these episodes, y'all, because people don't really realize how much time it really takes to really just sit down and record full videos, edit your full videos, and post them. That is work. That's why I made that episode Creatives Ain't Lazy, because creatives are not lazy. This is work. And yeah, so like I appreciate the art because I'm sensitive about my ish. Hello now. If you know, you know. But I'm gonna just get into the topic at hand today, y'all. The topic at hand today is less criticism, more love. And I say that this is like this episode is going to resonate with parents. This episode is going to resonate with children. Even so, if you're an adult now, you are still the child of someone. This is going to be able to resonate with you. And I hope that y'all are able to share this video out with others who may have needed to hear this or others who may need it. This is alignment. You're here for a reason. But I'm gonna just get straight into it. Like growing up, like even to like in my teenager years, I just remember like being more criticized than anything. Like I didn't really have like my parents didn't really tell me moreover like, hey, you are amazing, you're beautiful, you have great gifts, you're talented. Like I didn't really hear that much more than being criticized. Like I remember being told a lot like, you're not doing this right, or this is not enough, or you need to redo that, or this is you're not applying yourself, or this and this and that, you're lazy, you're this and this and that. But I feel as though not even just with black parents and black culture, right? I'm able to to connect to the black culture with my with certain things I say because I'm a black woman and that experience is still valid, right? But I feel as though a lot of people go through that outside of black culture. So, you know, this is going to connect with almost anyone. But I feel as though like parents, you know, like we got to get back to loving our babies. And I'm not even just talking about when they're newborns and they're so cute and you can pick them up and you can kiss them, you can cuddle them, you can hug them. No. We got to get back to loving our teenage children even to when they grow up and they become adults and they grow past 18 and they get older. Parenting does not stop at 18. And I think even to like I don't even have to be a parent to say this, but I'm somebody's child and that experience is valid, right? So I feel as though like we got to get back into pouring into our children and telling them like, hey, you're amazing. You're beautiful. You're worthy. Even if they don't have a job, right? Even if they may be in a season and they may not be doing things that you really like, still instill those great things into your children. And I say that's important because a lot of times when you are overly criticizing your kids, no matter what age they are, when they grow up, that's creating so much anxiety in them. And imagine like yelling, like even too, it goes so deep. So imagine too, like, oh, like yelling to get your point across with your kids all the time and always criticizing them, telling them that they lazy, telling them that they ain't gonna do nothing, telling them all these negative things. That's shaping them and shaping, like playing a role into their personality to the person that they're becoming. And that plays a role in anxiety, whether we want to admit it or not. It plays a role in their personality and who they decide to become once they get older. That's why I think it's so important to like really instill great things and positive attributes inside of your children, like remind them of who they were when they were created in their mother's womb. And even to like talk to them like how the Bible talks to us. Like a lot of times what we don't realize is that when you open up the Bible and you read scriptures, a lot of the scriptures talk to you like God is talking to you like you're already healed. God is talking to you like you already made it out past your bad season, like you're already the woman or the man that you want to be. Like there's this Bible scripture that comes to my head often, and it's like, what is it? I can do all things within Christ, which strengthens me. And I carry that on my back like armor. I think, like, when we think about that, I can do all things within Christ, which strengthens me. Even if you feel low or unmotivated or down or depressed in that moment, imagine reading that Bible scripture. That's God talking to you like you are already walking in alignment, like you are already walking in the pursuit of how God called it to be. I think we need to talk that same talk into our children. We got to instill and remind them of that confidence that is already in them, even when they go through certain seasons of their life and they're lost, or they may feel unmotivated, or they may feel insecure. Remind them of who God said that they are more than we criticize them. Because, like I said, like imagine like yelling all the time to get your point across with your child. Imagine always telling them what they aren't doing right. When they grow older, they'll start to think like, dang, is there anything that I can do that's valid? Is there anything that I can do that's worthy? And I think also too, like that breeds on insecurity because they start over questioning everything. They start over questioning their own instincts, their own God given abilities with their intuition and what their heart is telling them to do because they grew up all the time hearing mom and dad yell and scream and telling them, hey, what you're doing is not right. You're doing it the wrong way, or you're going down the wrong path. And it just really plays a role on who they become once they get older. And I'm not saying, listen, I feel as though even so we're in a new generation and we have different teens. These are a different set of children with different mindsets. So I feel as though you have to like raise them differently rather than you would kids that was back in the day because a lot of these children are like growing up and they're on social media. This is a social media society. And I feel as though like when children and teens go out into the world, they already have so much high criticism out in school, even to in sports. Like there's always this, what is this word I'm looking for? There's always this feeling of being like overly judged or criticized. Like they're going to already face that when they go out into the real world. I think parents have to do better at making that space with them always feel like home. And it can still feel like home even if you're being like like you have tough love moments. That's fine. But I think we have to bring back the balance because when the balance is more criticizing than it is love, we're not acting in the way I think of how God deemed parenting to be. And I think like one of the biggest questions is very important is like we got to realize what love is. Love is action, but at the same time, love is always also verbal. Love is also expression. You got to express that affection to your children. We got to get back to hugging our children even if when they get past 18. Hugging them is not corny. Hug your kids. Hug them in the morning. Hug them like, like I think like these things are so important because when they go out in the real world, that real world is already ready to attack them. We're already ready to bring them down. It's already ready to make them feel as though they are not who they say they to be. And even to like now, we are among so many kids that's growing up in a society, in a society where it's so big on social media. A lot of these children are comparing themselves. We have so many kids these days that don't know their identity. They don't know who God has called them to be. So they're comparing themselves to the people online or their peers and friends at school online and not realizing that there's power within them and there's uniqueness within them that they don't have to compare themselves to other people. And that's why I say like at home has to be that safe place, like with your parents. Like if a parent is watching this, like I want to let you know, like express that love to your children. Like let them feel as though like when they come to you, they can talk to you. Because I know every time I talk to like imagine your child, I don't care how old they are. Imagine your child trying to come talk to you and they can't talk to you because they feel as though you're going to always bring them bad news. You're going to always tell them that they ain't going to be able to do that. And I think sometimes parents do that because some people say, oh, they want the best for you. But we got to get back to also listening to our children as well because what you may think is the best for them it may not be how they see it or how God sees it for them. And definitely too if your children are spiritually inclined, they may have a different vision of what you see. So I think we also like that brings me to my next point. Like we got to also like sit down and talk with our kids because I think a lot of times these children are growing up and it's like they live with mom and dad and we know of each other, but they don't really know their children for real. And I even felt that same way coming up. Like I feel like even now, like I feel like my mom and even to my parents, they don't fully know me because we've never had those talks to where we actually sit down so they can really figure out who I am, so they can really figure out what makes me unique. Why am I this way? And we don't have enough of those conversations with our children. And I think a lot of times when we don't have these conversations with our children, they go to other people, they go to outside factors who definitely don't know who God has called them to be. And it's just unfortunate. It's just really unfortunate. And I think like even too, sometimes you do have parents, like some children have parents to where they're toxic and their parents haven't healed on their own things that they needed to work through and grow from. So they can't expect their parents to give them something that the parents never initially gave themselves, which I do realize that happens. But even too when it's like that, like I think we still got to hold parents accountable. Parents need to take the precautions and the steps to heal themselves. Even if your mom Even if, as a parent, your mom and dad did not tell you that you were great without attaching it to the work that you do, or did not acknowledge how powerful you are without attaching that to your productivity, I think it's still important that you take the precautions and the steps to heal yourself so that you don't bleed on your kids, so that you don't start thinking, oh, well, I went through it, you can go through it, or this is just how it is. No, that's not how it should be. Just because things are how they are does not mean that that's how it should be. And we have to literally dismantle that. We have to literally unplug our minds from that and get back to realizing, like, hey, you got to pour into them children. You got to pour into them children. Y'all got to stop screaming at them kids. That's another thing. Stop screaming at them kids before they go to school in the morning. Oh, this is blah, blah, blah. Even if you're frustrated, don't take your bad days of work out on these children. They don't deserve that. Don't take your bad days of what you didn't fulfill in your life out on your kids, because they don't deserve that. They deserve a beautiful life just as much as you do. And I think even too, parents don't realize that when you're constantly yelling to get your point across, or constantly yelling at them in the morning, we have to realize that our children, even if they are kids, right? Even if they are our child, right? Children are still human beings, and we got to treat them as such. Like, we can't just look at them as though, oh, this is just my child. No, this is a human being. Your child is a human being, and they deserve that same respect. They deserve that same love. They deserve that same fulfillment in life, just like you deserve. And I think we have to extend that grace to our kids, because you beating them up before they even get out into the world. So then imagine, you are like, even if you're not physically putting your hands on them, we're emotionally abusing our kids with yelling at them all the time. You're emotionally abusing your kids with talking down on them all the time. Stop talking down on them so much and really acknowledge them for who they are. Even if they ain't got no job, even if they ain't attaching it to nothing productivity, we got to keep reminding our kids of how great they are. So when they grow up, even too, they can realize, like, hey, when I make healthy connections with people, this is what this should look like. I should not be thinking a person that's talking down on me and that's talking to me crazy is someone who actually loves me. No. We have to unlearn that. And I think, like I said too, when these kids are going to school, and are even too, if they go, like, for the younger adults, when they go to college and they're going to the outside world, like, it plays so much of a role on who they are becoming, and we don't realize the how critical that is. We don't realize that because we just think it ain't nothing. We just think it ain't nothing. Oh, they'll get over it. That's just tough love. Yeah, okay, give your kids tough love, but at the same time, are you giving them actual genuine love? Are you giving them sentimental love? Are you giving them compassion? Are you giving them affection? When was the last time you hugged your children? When the last time that you gave them kisses? When the last time you told them that they were amazing without attaching it to productivity? And I think we have to have these conversations more than often, because I'm telling you, there's a cruel world out here. And if your parents cannot be the safe place for that, who do we go to? We go to God, right? We should always go to God, but at the same time, we got to hold parents accountable. Y'all got to start taking those steps to heal. You got to stop taking out your bad days out on these kids and realize, like, hey, my child is a human. And even too, like, I also say this, and this counterpart is like, parenting don't stop at 18. I feel like any parent that thinks that parenting stops at 18 shouldn't be a parent. Parenting never stopped at 18. Loving your child never stopped at 18. And I think we got to get rid of that stigma, because even when you turn 18, you're still developing. You're still trying to figure out your way in life. You're still trying to figure out your path. And I think, like, we need our parents to help guide us with certain things and aspects. And if they're not healing and doing the work on themselves, how can they actually guide us, right? But that's why parents need to take that step to heal. We can't just pray and give it to God. No, we got to actually, what does healing look like? Healing looks like loving myself, setting boundaries, also learning how to speak without raising my tone every single time. You don't got to yell to get your point across. People heard you the first time, even when you ain't yell. And, like, we don't realize how much, even too, of yelling, how much that plays a role on the nervous system. Because then too, you, like, even to the kids, like, subconsciously or unsubconsciously, you grow up start thinking that that's okay for people to talk to you like that. I even realized too, like, just growing up and hearing a lot of yelling, not even just from my parents, but just from the outside world too. It's like, it played such a role on me, where I had to do so much work on myself, because I started yelling at other people when I felt as though I wasn't heard, or I felt as though I wasn't seen. Instead of removing myself or trying to lower my tone, you don't have to yell to get your point across. And like I said, I had to do so much work on myself and take the accountability to say, hey, Bree, that's not cool. Imagine if somebody always yelled at you to get their point across. Imagine if somebody always raised their voice at you to get their point across. Like, we got to start back moving in the acts of love, man. Imagine how much that can change if, like, our parents if parents took the choice to actually heal and love better, to talk better, to learn how to efficiently talk to people, to learn how to pour out instantly into others. You get what I'm saying? And before even to, let's just say if you are in a place of your life and you feel as though, hey, my cup is barely full, so I can't pour into my kids the way I need to. Let's start back taking those precautions to pour back into yourself because you deserve that. You deserve to heal. You deserve to heal, not even just for your children, but just so that you can be a better woman or man. And when you become a better woman or man, that starts rippling amongst your whole family because we got to change the dynamic on family dynamics too. Like, even to as a mom and a father, you get what I'm saying? Like, we got to show our children what real love looks like. How does it look to effectively talk to someone and articulate yourself without having to curse at them all the time or raise your voice? How does it look to pour life into and speak life into your children so that they don't think when they grow older that hugging their siblings is corny, or they don't think that healing is corny, or they don't think that anybody that's talking to them or being kind to them is a act of naive or of being naive. No, we have to change the rhetoric on that. And I feel as though so many people are just so comfortable with, like, thinking that people who are genuinely good is a threat because you've been around so many people that has showed you the opposite. So you think that being toxic and then being around toxic people is the way to go. Nah, and that's why people stay stuck. That's why they stay stuck mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, because we are not allowing ourselves to heal. That's why healing looks corny to you. That's why you receiving a hug from your sister or your brother feels unnormal because you ain't receive it growing up in a home. We got to get back to hugging our brothers and sisters. I don't care if it feels uncomfortable. Oh, I don't really do hugs. Why? Why? But you will hug your boyfriend. But you will hug your girlfriend. You'll give them affection without no ease. But when it comes to your siblings, we draw a line. When it comes to your parents, we draw a line. Why is that? And I think we don't ever sit with those questions. We don't ever peel back the layers to really figure out why are we feeling this way, because it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. Healing shouldn't be corny to you. Speaking life into your children, letting them know that they're beautiful, kissing their faces, kissing their cheeks, letting them know that they're amazing. That shouldn't feel corny. Like, I've just experienced a lot in life, and I realized even too, like, I've always been an affectionate woman, even to people who weren't really growing up off of affection. Even if you didn't grow up off of affection, you can start any day from scratch and say, hey, I'm going to start giving people hugs. I'm going to start giving people the same affection that I would want to receive outside of romance. Because I think even too, like, what we don't realize too, like, when we don't give that affection and that love and extend that grace to our family, a lot of times we go seeking that in partners. So we seek that validation from our partners, because I ain't gonna lie. I was even doing it once. I was seeking the affection. Like, I didn't even realize how deep it was. I was seeking affection that I didn't receive from my father, from men. Like, it was so bad to the point, I'm gonna be real transparent. There was a point in my life I would literally sleep with a man just so that he could hold me at night, not even realizing that I just really wanted a hug. I just really wanted a hug from my parents. I just really wanted my parents to actually hug me and genuinely feel it, and not, and even to not even those quick hugs, a long hug. I just wanted a hug. I just wanted that emotional affection that I didn't receive from my parents. So I was chasing for it in a whole nother individual, which was very unhealthy. And I had to do so much work on myself to realize that, hey, this was something that you did not receive. So now you're chasing for it in another way. And we don't realize how deep that goes. We don't realize how deep that goes. Like, even too, you didn't receive enough affection and love poured into from your parents. So now you're growing up and you thinking that somebody is supposed to be your everything. Your partner is supposed to be your everything. We were never supposed to feel like that. Another human being is not supposed to be the fulfillment for you. You get what I'm saying? And I think, like, that's the biggest mistake. A lot of people don't even realize that they're navigating it in such a unhealthy way because you're thinking that another human being is going to do the work that you didn't do on yourself. I had to sit with myself and stop giving my body to men too that didn't deserve me, just because I wanted to be held at night, just because I wanted to be kissed or told that I was worthy, because I didn't receive that from my parents. That goes deep. And yes, I took accountability for that. I had to do the work on it. That did play a role in it though, and we have to call awareness. we just got to call awareness to it. And I think like we don't understand how bad that starts pouring out into other aspects of our life until we get older. And I would hate for that to continuously be the reason and the cause to why a lot of people are not receiving love, why they're not hearing positive things from their parents, why they're not hearing positive. Like, we should not be so comfortable with toxic mechanisms and toxic parents and toxic peers and toxic families and friends that are rooted in dysfunction, that we think that healing is corny. We think that receiving a hug from a loved one is corny. We don't want to be the first one to give a hug. We don't want to be the first one to give someone a kiss if it's not our romantic partner. That's crazy. We have to stop trying to save love just for romance. Just save that just for your partner. No, your mama deserves love. Your grandma, your auntie, your uncle, your sister, your brother, your friends, your peers, strangers. And it shouldn't have to be earned. Love should be a natural attribute within your character. You know, and I think if we gave more of that, that would change the dynamic of the household. If parents actually took the steps to heal, to say, hey, okay, my mom and dad didn't give it to me, but I'm not going to not give that to my kids. Even if it feels weird, right? I'm going to step out on faith and do that weird thing. I'm going to give my kids some kisses. I'm going to give my kids some hugs. I'm going to tell them how amazing they are without comparing it to how many degrees they got on their wall. I'm going to tell them how amazing they are, even if they don't have a job. I'm going to tell them that they're still amazing, even if I feel as though I don't like the path they're going down. But I'm going to still correct them in love. Yeah, I'm going to still correct them in love. But I'm going to always remind them how amazing they are, because that's important. And it also does like play a role too. Like, if you're not, like, when parents don't pour into their children, these kids are growing up with false egos, false senses of validation, because they're receiving like false sense of validation through different acts and different people in the world because they didn't get it from their parents. All because they didn't get it from their parents. But we don't realize that until we get older and we start dating, and it's like, hey, hold up, I got to do work here. Or we start, it just goes so deep. And we have to get back to realizing it starts by just spreading love. You got to spread love. Just as quick as diseases and bacteria get passed around, let's spread some love. Let's spread some love. Let's spread love. And love can be in different expressions. Love can be in how you talk. How do you talk to your loved ones? How do you talk to your kids? Because even too, if we start talking positively in our kids, that can change the dynamic of how they talk to others too when they go out in the real world. How they are mannerable, how they carry themselves. Do they give hugs? Are they mannerable? Do they say good morning and good night? How was your day? Like, I think a lot of times, even too, like, growing up and like with my household and that, like, even too with my siblings and my parents, of how I grew up, I feel like it was more of a thing too. Like, we didn't really all sit down at the table and eat with one another. We didn't have those conversations to where it was like, how was your day? And everybody actually genuinely talks about that day and we recap. We didn't really have those things. I think a lot of us was really just isolated. And it was so normal for us to isolate, when in reality, God didn't really call us here to isolate ourselves from everyone. God said, guard your heart, right? Guard your heart from people that's not good for you. But I think when it comes to family, like, even to like the family that you live with, like, it should not be a normal thing for you not to eat at the table with your family. It should not be a normal thing for you to not tell your sister that you love them. It should not be a normal thing for you to not be able to give your brother and sister hugs whenever you want, and you guys are just telling each other that, hey, you look beautiful, without it being a threat. It should not be a abnormal thing to not be able to hug your parents and tell them and actually sit down and have deep conversations with them. It should not be an abnormal thing. And I think we have to get back to realizing that. We got to get back to realizing that a lot of things that took place, they weren't right. But how do we move forward from that, right? How do we move forward from that? We start from where we are and we realize, like, hey, you walk up to your sister and your brother, your mom and your dad, and you just hug them, even if they feel weird afterwards. And it feels weird getting a hug a lot of times because you didn't receive it. Just admit it. You didn't receive it. A lot of us didn't. And I think like that shouldn't stop you from pouring that down onto your kids. That shouldn't stop you from not extending that to others. I'm at a point now, I'll hug strangers. I'll speak life into people I don't know, because you don't have to earn my kindness. Nobody should have to earn your kindness. You should be kind because that's a part of who you are. You want people to be kind to you. Like, I don't understand that. A lot of people they say they want real and kind people, but we are not extending that. We're not extending the things that we want from others. I want people to really love me and give me affection, but are you giving people affection for free? And I'm not talking about sex. Let's start there. Are you giving people hugs for free? Are you telling people that they look amazing and realizing that that takes nothing from you? Are you starting the cycle of actually, you know what? I'm going to text my parents I love them, even if they don't text back. I'm going to just leave it right there. And I think we don't realize that love is sacrifice, bro. And I realize that in my own life. Like, it's not in a sacrifice in a way of where you neglect yourself, but it's a sacrifice in a way of I'm willing to take a step out on something that feels uncomfortable with healing, right? Even if no one else does it. Even if I don't have any roadmap of how to do it right, I know that's not right. So what's the opposite of that? What's the opposite of hate? Love. What's the opposite of envy? Humility. And I think, like, even too with pride and all of that, like, it's just, what is the opposite of that? What does that look like? And if we don't know what it looks like, we need to constantly be giving ourselves soul food. What's that soul food I said? It's not just catfish, collard greens, and yams. That soul food looks like watching videos and podcasts where people are talking healthy and they are showing affection to others. It looks like watching I'm at listening to music that makes you connect with a peaceful version of yourself. It makes you calm. It calms your nervous system. Because I think, like, even too, like I said, going back to what I was mentioning earlier, a lot of these kids, they're growing up to be adults with unregulated and with a lot of these kids are growing up to be adults with dysregulated nervous systems. And a lot of that plays a role in it is because we had overly strict parents, but they were so strict, but at the same time, they weren't really giving out enough love and affection to balance that out. So now we have these adults and they're navigating through this world, and it's like they're overly questioning everything. They don't really know who they are. They're picking up different identities, all because we didn't have parents. Well, this is not the whole thing, but it plays a role in it. All because you didn't have parents who reminded you. You didn't have parents who set those stepping stones, and we don't realize how important that is until you get older, bro. But I think I have covered everything in this episode. If I didn't, I will always go back and add a part two. I hope this I hope this episode moves you. I hope this episode finds someone. I hope this episode really touches the spirits of others. And like I said, always go back to talking to your children or even to your parents the way that the Bible talks to us. And it like I said, in the Bible, it talks to us as if we're already affirmed. Speak life into your children because there's a world out there that's ready to tear them down. Speak life. Give affection to people. Stop letting people have to earn your kindness because you didn't receive none. Nah, it's your responsibility to heal and to actually give that kindness to yourself. If you start giving it to yourself so much, you'll realize you'll start pouring your own cup. You can't sit around waiting for everybody else to pour your cup. They'll leave you empty. If you start pouring your own cup, you'll have love to give. You'll realize that, hey, I'm going to give you love anyway. Because that's what Jesus would do. That's what God would do. Like, I'm going to give you love anyway. And I think that's humility. That shows sacrifice. Love is sacrifice, but in a good way. In a good way. Because you know what I'm doing? I'm sacrificing my old ways and my old ways of thinking to heal, even if it feels uncomfortable. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's why I'm able to be so expressive now. Like, I'm not perfect, but the things that I didn't receive, I always said, like, the things that I didn't receive, I always want to give to others because other people deserve it. Deserve it. Strangers deserve your kindness. Kids deserve your kindness. There are people that are working in jobs in society that deserves your kindness. Why should they have to earn that? Because you didn't receive it. You got to do that work on yourself because you may miss out on a blessing. You may miss out on something that God is trying to reveal to you. We got to learn to move in love and with love. And even too, if you give those kids tough love, all right, cool. Make sure that you backing it up. And even too, if you, like, a lot of times parents are so ready to be so strict and so cruel and crucial with their kids all the time and point the finger. But how many times have you hugged your kid within the last year? How many times have you kissed your children to let them know that they're amazing? How many times have you let them know that they're amazing without the accomplishments that they made in life? How many times have you done that? And a lot of times we can't count that on our fingers because guess what? We too busy pointing the finger, telling them what they did wrong. We too busy yelling at them. We too busy letting them know that, hey, all this crazy stuff, right? So we're too busy tearing them down. So when they go out into the real world, guess what the real world does? We think that the world just tears men down. Nah, the world tears women down. The world will try to tear your children down because guess what? That is the most special developmental years because they're absorbing so much, and even too like we don't even realize how much kids absorb because even too like when you have children, kids are paying attention to a lot of things that y'all say. Even to if the parents are arguing in the home, kids are paying attention to that. They hear how you talk to your husband. They hear how you talk to them. They hear how you talk to yourself. That's why it's important for mom and dad to do the work. It's important for mom and dad to actually have actions of healing and taking those precautions to actually become better human beings so that our children can know what real love looks like. But if our children don't know what real love looks like, guess what they'll do? They'll go out and search for it in the world with people who are not even doing any work on themselves. They'll go out and look for other people to be their fulfillment because they didn't receive it from mom and dad. A lot of us are a lot of adults are just damaged. They have good hearts, but they're damaged and they're holding off and securing it. Like a lot of adults are holding off affection and love because they think that it should only be for their partner. So they don't tell their sisters they love them. They don't hug their brothers and sisters. They don't hug their mother. They think that healing is corny. They think that hugs are corny and it should never feel that way. That's not normal. Hello, Blues Clues. It's not normal. But more love, y'all. Less criticism. I think we should direct our children sometimes. Sometimes they do need tough love, but at the same time, they need grace. They need more hugs. They need more affection. We need to spread more love the way diseases are spreaded. Spread love like they spread diseases. But that's it, y'all.